What's going on, everybody? The original Mako back, and yes, it's time. Another update with new weapons has come through, which means it's time for another tier list update. And we are going to be moving more weapons around than just the dual Fang, so I'm going to be reevaluating the whole list and making my decisions based on what I've felt since the new update. So let's just go ahead and hop right into it. We know these take a while. Make sure, if you're not subscribed, hit that subscribe button. Like 75% of you guys that watch these videos aren't subbed. Why not just a little poke, right? You just gotta poke the sub button, subscribe, hit it, smash it, boom. Check the link in the description as well. Twitch.tv/TheOriginalMako, and the Discord link will be in the description also. We have two major streams coming up, a 12-hour cosplay stream on the 10th, and a 24-hour charity stream, which we are really pushing to get a lot of people out for on the 14th. So check that out. Link will be in the description, but let's go ahead and hop into the tier list. So, let's do the new weapon last. Let's go ahead and make our changes first. And the first one, I guess we'll just go row by row here. First change I'm going to make is Glimmering. And this is actually going to be a pretty hefty drop down to a solid option. The Glimmering just doesn't do it for me anymore. It really doesn't. It doesn't hit as hard. The explosions aren't as good. Everything about... I hate to do this, but I'm actually going to put it in average, I think. It's just not anything close to what it used to be. Not even close to a must-have anymore. I very rarely take it. And when I do have one, I'm trying to find another weapon soon because there are just so many better options, in my opinion. I just think the Glimmering has lost its mustard. I was about to say musto, but I think it's gusto, but I pooched it. Anyways, Glimmering moving down to the average tier. Next, I think everything else in the must-have stays. Crimson Fire Scaled. Okay, yeah, I was thinking about Demon Lord moving it down one just because of the fact that you need like a mag capacity up or infinite, but this gun is just too good when you have that stuff to not have it up here. But yeah, the rest of the stuff I think I'm going to keep up here. Extremely viable. Let's see how we are feeling. We're going to move the laser gloves down to a solid option. I've tried to use them a couple times, and since I last did the tier list, and they're not doing it for me either. I think a lot of these other weapons up here, in fact, I wouldn't say every, but most of these other weapons up here can DPS a lot faster than the laser gloves, and the laser gloves specialty is like DPS. So it just feels like it doesn't do what it is supposed to do better than a lot of other things. So I think it's just a solid option. If you get the right inscriptions on it, maybe you've got the right ascensions or scrolls, then maybe you can make it work. But I think it's just going to go on the solid options list for now. Oh, other things to change. Thunderclap gloves I'm going to keep here because of the AoE on it. I still think that's very good. I think I'm going to move the concealed ammo down to solid options. Its right click is very potent most of the time, but it eats ammo like nothing you've ever seen before. So unless you have some sort of infinite ammo, I'd say the best thing you could have with it is bullet bank. If you have bullet bank with a concealed ammo, it's going to be very good. Pushing a must-have, honestly, but that's a very specific thing. And outside of that, I'd say it's just a solid option. So we're going to move that down. Its potential is very high, but it's most of the time going to fall like right around this area. So we'll put it in the solid options list. Everything else, I think we keep. The Prism and Talisman maybe could move down to solid options, but I think I keep them there for now. Yeah, I like it. We'll keep them there. I like what it's doing, stuff like that. It's good. Next, I'm going to move the Sunder into the extremely viable option. Now, this is getting a little bit insane because my first tier list, I'm almost positive the Sunder was in the trash category, and I just needed to give it some time. And now here we are. The Sunder, I believe, is an extremely viable weapon. A lot of inscriptions go really well with it. It works with a lot of scrolls. You don't usually find yourself needing ammo too often. It's very viable without a ton of good inscriptions on it, so even if you don't get great inscriptions, it's still going to hit pretty hard. I think it's an extremely viable option, and I think it's just a little notch above everything else that is in this category. As for the rest of the stuff in this category, I think it all stays. I could potentially consider moving the Star Devourer down and maybe the Cavalry up, but those are the only changes I'd even think about making, and we're not going to make them. We're just going to leave it how it is right there. The average weapons, we have a lot to go through here. Obviously, the Glimmering is staying. I think most of this is going to stay. No. I'm going to put the Woodpecker in the solid options list. I've had a lot of really good runs with Woodpeckers recently. It does require a little bit of luck on your inscriptions, I think, to make it a solid option, but it does have a lot of good inscriptions you can get with it and a lot of good synergies. I think the 16 is the base amount of ammo in a mag, I think. So that's having 16 of those to fire is good. I just think it's a little bit better than these. It's like a tier above these weapons down here. The only I would also consider, I'm not going to do it, but they're like on the line, the Sting and the Shrieker moving up. The Sting early game, if you run into an Elite Spearman, is everything you want. It just melts his shield so fast, and that's the hardest part to get through on the Elite Spearman. But I don't think it's quite good enough to move it into the solid options list. It's good in other places too, and the Shrieker's good. I think it's better than it was for sure, but I don't know if it's enough to move up. And actually, we're actually going to move one down. I'm going to move something new into the trash category. Frenzied Shark. Asta La Vasta. With a Justice in the game, I just don't... And other explosives. The Frenzied Shark, I've even tried it a little bit in the last couple days. I've never had a good one. I'm trying to think. I really don't think I've ever had a good friend where I'm like, oh, yes. And then I start using it and I'm like, oh, this is ripping. Not once, ever. And I just don't think it's even possible, frankly. Even with a good explosive build, why wouldn't you just use a Justice? So I think the Frenzied Shark is honestly garbage, and it's just pointless to have. I don't know if it's quite as bad as the Dragon Chaser, but it's very low on this tier. Now to the trash tier. Wild Hunt is going to move into the average category. Like I think I talked about in the last updated weapon tier list video. The Wild Hunt with like Advanced Depot, or if you have increased mag size and a chance to refill mag on kill or something like that, it can be a lot of fun. But even if you don't have that stuff, it still hits real hard if you're up close and can frankly put out a lot of damage. So honestly, I think this is an average weapon and it's starting to climb a little bit in my eyes. I would say it's probably around middle to upper average tier. And yeah, I think it's fair to move that out of the trash category. I think it's definitely a tier above these weapons. And everything else in here is going to stay. Dragon Chaser, I could put in like 3 categories below trash. The Ghost Shock, it has some moments occasionally, but not enough to make it a thing. So it's going to stay there. Now, on to the fun part. The new weapon, the dual Fang little SMG type thing. We call it the Chicken Spitter on the Twitch channel. We've got the Chicken Choker here and his brother, the Chicken Spitter. The Dual Fang. Let me just talk about the Dual Fang for a second. First of all, I really, really like the weapon. The weapon in and of itself is essentially a buff to the cat, which is nice because the cat needs a buff. It makes me want to actually play the cat, and I haven't wanted to play the cat in literally years. So the fact that there's a weapon out there now that makes me want to play the cat, it's definitely a cat buff. So I'm going to treat this kind of how I treat the Rainbow Arc. And, I mean, even the Demon Lore, frankly. And we're going to put this in the extremely viable section. Now, the only reason it's not higher or lower is because if you're using the cat, it's here. If you're using the cat, it is almost always you want to pick this weapon up because you have things like Acid Dominance, Pyro Dominance, Elemental Rage, Wildfire, Hex Smoke. Hex Smoke's just every run, but you have things like that to make you do so much damage with this thing. The fact that every other bullet is corrosive and then every other bullet's pyro, like it just alternates between fire and corrosive, having increased fire rates and increased damage with your elements, this thing is gonna be, or not gonna be, it is fantastic and a must-have on the cat. On the other characters, however, it's more like just a solid option. It's okay early. Damage on it falls off pretty quick. The fact that you're doing elemental fire and corrosive damage is still really good to have on a single weapon. That's still really, really good. But it's not something, it's not an extremely viable or must-have unless you're on the cat. But because of how good it is on the cat, it deserves to be in this section. I've had some pretty busted runs with it already. Done over 65k damage with the explosive elemental effect. If this was a big if, because I don't think they would, I think they did this right. But if it was fire, lightning damage, this would be a must-have on all characters. I don't care, cat, dog, bird, bear, panda, it doesn't matter. You'd want to take that because that's the best elemental effect in the game. And if you can consistently stun enemies, it's just broken. But it's a very fun weapon to use on the cat. I think the most fun runs I've had since the update have come from using a dual Fang on the cat. So that should tell you something because I hate the cat. So if my most fun runs are on the cat, this thing must be pretty good. But I like how they implemented it, making it's essentially a buff to the cat because the cat is all about elements. So any weapon that does elemental damage to begin with, you're going to want to think, oh, how can I use this with the cat? But one that does 2 elemental damages, that has Crown Prince written all over it, and it's a ton of fun to use. If you, for some reason, haven't tried it out yet, I would highly suggest trying it out because you will have a good time. But yeah, it's so much fun, and I think it deserves to be in the extremely viable section. And if you're on the cat, it's up here. If you're not on the cat, probably solid options, so we'll meet in the middle. But that's it for the updated, newest tier list. Wow, these 3 categories are all dead even. If we had one more weapon to put in the trash, we'd have a pair. What the hell is it called? Oh, I'm gonna lose it. I'm just gonna Google it. I'm gonna Google it. What is it called when something is spelled the same way backward? It starts with a P. It's a palindrome. It's a palindrome. We'd have a palindrome with a weapon tier list. Anyways, doesn't matter. Thank you guys for watching. I really appreciate it. Like I said, be sure to hit that subscribe button and check those links down below. Every time there's a new weapon that comes out, we're going to be updating this tier list. Also, fun new thing we're doing on Twitch every Wednesday, which is yesterday if you're watching this, but next Wednesday, we're doing runs with viewers on Gunfire and potentially might switch to some other games, but Wednesday is like viewer day. So if you want to be there for that, be sure you're ready. That'll be actually a day after our 12-hour stream, so, you know, we'll be doing that. But thank you guys for watching. I appreciate it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know where you would move some of these weapons, what you think I chose wrong, because I'm sure you guys will think I chose a lot of stuff wrong. But I appreciate the support, guys, for real. Thank you. Check out those links in the description. Hit the subscribe button, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.